2025 was a pretty big year for the kart racer subgenre. Mario Kart finally got a new installment after 11 years, not DLC that may or may not be recycled maps from a mobile gacha game, but a brand new game. Sonic Racing made a return, starring the girl from Fortnite and John Minecraft, and Kirby Air Ride came back after not being seen since the GameCube era. Though I'm not sure you'd necessarily say that game is strictly speaking a kart racer because it kind of does its own thing. I guess you could say last year was a big year for the arcade racing game, maybe? The non-realistic racing game? I don't know. But Mario Kart World vs Sonic Crossworlds was one of the main debates that consumed the chronically online, sending things right back to the 90s as the Mario and Sonic beef was born anew. And the discussion didn't exactly simmer down when World took home the prize at the Game Awards for Best Racing Game of 2025. Sonic fans decried World, calling it an overpriced and slow broken down van with a vapid open world, and Mario Kart fans jumped to World's defense, saying that Crossworld would be forgotten about and is only having relevancy due to its crossover characters. Now, what does Charlton think, you may be asking? Well, look folks, I kinda don't really give a shit. While I would say I've always historically been more on Team Mario than Team Sonic, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other.
They're all equally shit.
I think fandom squabbling in general, especially on social media, is kind of immature and petty. Like, come on guys, we're arguing about which entry in a franchise primarily aimed at kids is better. Let's have some self-awareness. I'm all for seeing the good aspects of both games and judging them on their own terms. I myself have dabbled a bit with World over the past few months, and you know, I think it's alright. I think all the crazy stuff you can do with the new movement mechanics is great, and I even think driving around the open world, as simplistic as it may be, is quite chill, especially with how vibey the soundtrack is. Knockout Tour is definitely a standout mode for me though. Turning Mario Kart into a last one stunning endurance race with 24 players driving across this gigantic island channels both the energies of classic Mario Kart chaos, but also the very terrain of the island. But if I'm going to play Mario Kart these days, I'm probably just going to jump on 8 Deluxe. That game has Isabelle and World doesn't, so it's already there. And I don't own Crossworlds, so I'm not going to pretend that I've played it. I've seen gameplay of it here and there and it looks decent. Even if World's detractors do make some valid points about the pricing, the intermissions, the slightly undercooked open world, I don't want to call either of these games bad. They have their audiences and fill their own niches. I feel like a lot of the hate that World got online was very overblown and at times disingenuous. But can I be honest about something real quick? This isn't necessarily to do with these two games in particular, but I kind of feel like the whole thing of talking about games online has just become incredibly toxic. People calling anything they don't like slop, people constantly having a superiority complex about their own tastes, people just being negative really.
Everything with you is negative.
It's exhausting and I can feel my mood dropping as soon as I engage with this stuff or look at it. There's obviously a lot of things to take a stand against in games, like the rise of AI, mistreatment of employees, and of course pricing, but at the end of the day, just play whatever you think is fun. So with all that being said, let's take our minds off of all this discourse and talk about another kart race that I've been all over recently. It's dumb as hell, but it's also fun as shit. The Karters 2, no I'm not calling it turbocharged, that's the corny ass subtitle, ask an important question. What if Mario Kart had shotguns?
Do you know someone that owns a gun?
The Karters series, if you will, dates all the way back to 2018, but you wouldn't really be blamed if you didn't want to play it, as not only can you not play it anymore, as it's been scrubbed from Steam, but also left a lot to be desired, and the reviews speak as much. So Pixel Edge Games had to go back to the drawing board. They picked themselves up, dusted themselves off, and said it's time to lock in. And their effort has certainly been proved. The Karters 2 has proven itself to be a significant step up, both in the visuals department and in the gameplay department. You can probably tell by the footage I'm overlaying, but perhaps one of this game's biggest draws is the modding scene, which allows players to create their own custom characters and tracks. And this ticks a lot of boxes for me, because, as an outlet, I used to watch a crap ton of Mario Kart Wii custom track videos. I used to think that shit was peak cinema. Does anyone in the audience remember Mod Nation Racers? You know, that one kart racer on the PS3 modelled around online multiplayer that allowed players to sculpt their own tracks, customise their characters, and share them online with other players? I did dabble with that a little bit on occasion as well. Not as much, but I do remember me and my older brother playing it a few times and making the wackiest tracks we could. The reason why I'm bringing this game up is because the devs cite it as a direct inspiration. It's a shame that the series is seemingly laying in the vault, like a lot of other Sony properties that aren't photorealistic over-the-shoulder action game number 12 though. But the Karters 2 is kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different kart races really, and I think it takes the best aspects from its inspirations and makes something truly unique and special. Let's talk about what TK2 offers in terms of its core gameplay and original content. I just said that it takes aspects from other kart races and makes itself stand out, and while that is true, kart races are the kind of genre where you can't really stray from the formula too much without really becoming an entirely different game. Once you've played one from one series and you play another from a different series, you kinda already know what you're getting yourself into. And in this game, you kinda go through the standard affair. Pick a character in kart, zippily race through a variety of unrealistic and thematic tracks, use a roster of slapstick items on an RNG roulette wheel to stop other racers from getting ahead of you, and win. Or lose.
Honestly guys, right now I wanna smash everything in my room.
But there's a few differences in TK2's gameplay that makes it stand out. It wouldn't be a racing game without the driving, and the overall driving physics of this game are a lot faster than other kart races, and the game is designed to prioritise speed over anything else. In Mario Kart, for instance, items will invariably cause you to lose all speed if you get hit by them, but easily allowing for other racers to overtake you, and that can happen constantly, leading to a lot of frustrating moments of getting Mario Karted. This isn't really a problem in TK2. See, the way items in your car works in this game is that you have a health bar which starts off at 300, but can go higher if you use the heal bar at full HP. When you get hit by projectiles or trap items, instead of them screeching you to a halt, all they do is chip off your HP. It's only when your car reaches 0 HP that you do a little stumble animation which stops you in your tracks. But you can very quickly recover from it as you accelerate pretty quickly, and items like the dash can be used to let you break out from it. And what that means is that racing inherently flows a lot better. It's this constant dash to the finish line with minimal interruption, and it's exhilarating. The driving physics are also a lot bouncier and wackier than the kart races, especially Mario Kart. Driving into other races will allow you to effectively footstool them, which is great for closing gaps and getting ahead of the crowd. Ramps send you high, and driving off a little bump in the road can send you flying into the air. And because of the surprising amount of air control you have, you can make some pretty interesting shortcuts out of it. Performing stunts also has its own gameplay usage as well, as not only does it give you a little boost when you touch down, it also grants you a very subtle double jump, if you will, that can be useful for making mid-air shortcuts or just, letting yourself go faster. Drifting also feels satisfying in this game too. Instead of entering a drift and waiting until your wheels turn a certain colour to go a certain speed, this game's drifting works in a way more like CTRs, I suppose. You enter a drift, and the longer you drift, you fill up 3 separate gauges that constitute to a speed boost. And if you wait for all 3 gauges to fill, you can get 3 continuous boosts of speed. This creates interesting decision making in a race. Based on the track I'm racing on, do I snake, only drifting long enough to fill up the gauge to get continuous boost of speed? Or do I let all 3 charge up, which would allow me to get 3 boosts of speed at once? You're more likely to place higher in a race on a track with the longer stretches of road by snaking, and you're more likely to do better, and not fall off, on windier tracks if you drift more conservatively. But neither one approach to drifting is inherently better than the other. It's about examining the context of the design of the track you're on and the corner you're turning. As you would expect from a kart racer, items are big deciding factors in races in this game, but I think this game overall handles items pretty well. I wouldn't necessarily consider any of the items in the game's rotation to be overpowered or really need nerfing. Even if they do a lot of damage, they're not totally tide turning, and the aforementioned fact that you have HP that knocks you out at 0 helps out with that. Even the blue shell equivalent in this game, the portal gun, no not that one, only gets you down to 120 HP if you have a base 300, and there are numerous counters to it like the shield bubble, the heal bot, which tanks part of the weapon's damage leaving you with just enough HP to not stumble, and a well-timed dash. Mobility items like the dash and the rocket boost are clearly meant to be the classic items that give you a boost if you're in lower positions, but they do what you'd expect them to do. They don't just catapult you to first place, except for the tank. That one kinda does just put you in first place and goes on for a bit too long. The dash can even be used to make shortcuts, as you can use the dash in midair and it functions in the same way. Don't use the homing missile though, it's ass. More often than not it just sends me flying off the track. The weapon items are pretty fair too. The minigun can be a little annoying to deal with as it lasts for a long time, meaning someone who has it behind you can keep trickling your health down, and if you have it you can't discard it, but it's fine, I guess. The shotgun makes sense. It works to stop opposing racers who you're neck and neck with at close range, and it falters if you're trying to fire it at someone far away. Duh, it's a shotgun. It's obviously going to do that. The bazooka is a pretty standard projectile, dealing reasonable damage, and the Tox bow, a crossbow that creates poisonous cloud that slowly takes away health where it lands, is a great way to passively damage other carts and works well as a trap. The only items I would consider actively overpowered are the electric weapons. Exhibit A, the Tesla gun, a weapon that fires forward an electrified ball of energy that deals great damage to its intended target, but it can also zap nearby racers with lightning bolts that protrude off of it, potentially allowing you to get multiple KOs at once. Exhibit B, the Tesla field. What happens when a rocket boost and a Tesla gun love each other very, very much? Well, you get this piece of shit.
No! What?
Combining high speed with unavoidable electricity damage makes for a very strong item. But having said all of that, it begs the age-old question, does balancing really matter? I would say in most video games, especially in multiplayer PvP titles, I would say yeah. But in games like kart races, despite overpowered and RNG items being annoying, I don't think it's really that deep. Kart races are casual experiences by design that you aren't meant to take that seriously. They're often considered party games, games you play with the mates at functions for some laughs. Therefore, I can forgive wacky items and nonsensical RNG in games like this. Though, it's commendable that in this game, not every item stuns you and covers your screen in black ink. That being the case wouldn't detract from the experience, and the RNG nature of items and damage of weapons doesn't matter, so items like the Tesla field aren't as big of a deal as I made them out to be. These items play into this sense of wacky bullshit that this game has, but also kart races as a whole have too. One thing I will have a go at this game for is the bots. First off, I like that this game gives you a difficulty slider for the bots. I like it because it still allows the game to be challenging outside of online. Even hard level bots in 8 Deluxe still feel pretty easy. But TK2's bots do not mess around even in the highest difficulty settings. However, the way they do that unfortunately is by, well, cheating.
You're going to go your own way, you're going to do what they won't do. You're going to be smart, you are going to cut corners, and you are going to win.
And this isn't me losing, being salty and getting suspicious. No, I have proof. I'd say most of the time they play normally, but sometimes the game will give them the upper hand. They seem to go a lot faster than you do, even on flat stretches of road where you're also drifting and boosting, and sometimes, when they fall off the track, they spawn right back onto it without going through the process of getting pulled back up. Like, look at that!
He moves right there. Wait. Right there.
The game tells you that the bots don't rubber band, but that's a lie.
This doesn't make any sense.
And I don't think they should do that. If you're playing against bots, they should behave in a certain way and act at a certain skill level, not have an advantage over you that you have to fight tooth and nail against. How about the tracks and characters in this game? Well, let's discuss that. Before I get into discussing mods, let's talk about the original tracks and characters. The game comes with 16 tracks and they all graphically look pretty nice. The cartoony art style the game employs is visually pleasing and they're all fun to race on in their own way, but I do have my favourites. City tracks like Don't Look Downtown and Rush Hour are super fun. The former is an excellent usage of ramps and airtime, and the latter keeps you on your toes by having you swerve between cars. A great callback to Mario Kart tracks like Shroom Ridge and Mushroom Bridge. I just wish I had item boxes. Aquatic tracks like Scuba Driving and Beach Blast are neat, the former working really well as an introductory track by having modest turns and easy yet fun shortcut opportunities, but they're both great, having fun themes, catchy music tracks, and vibrant colour palettes. Beach and underwater tracks are always a vibe. Sheriff's Town Tour is a fun one too. I dig the winding layout on the whole old western village theme is pretty funny. And then we have our races. They're fine, I guess. I think they give the game its own sense of charm and identity, but I found myself not really playing as the standard gang very much. Except for Mia though, she's cool. She's invited to the blunt rotation. And the reason why is because of, you guessed it, mods. Like I said at the start of the video, one of the biggest draws for this game has been its modding scene, both for characters and tracks. I've held off talking about mods specifically in this video so far because I kind of wanted to discuss the core game and let the gameplay footage speak for itself, but the devs clearly view the mods as to an extent part of the game, hence why they cite Mod Edition races as an inspiration. I mean, this game's got fucking everybody. Everyone wanted to tear it up on Figure 8 Circuit as queso? Not sure why you'd want to, but you can. The amount of custom characters and tracks that have been added to this game over time is quite frankly insane. You have some mods where they just slap the characters modeled from elsewhere into Unity and called it a day, maybe giving them a few voice lines, but you also have custom characters that go the extra mile and include unique animations too, to make them feel more integrated into the base game. Modded characters and tracks have definitely been one of the primary motivators for me coming back to this game, and they all work well to complement the already nonsensical and wacky tone the game has going on, especially considering that a lot of them revolve around crossovers.
Crossovers.
Now, I'm all for debating about whether or not crossovers are a good thing or a bad thing for a game, but I feel like here, it's kind of more just funny than anything else. These are just all different people adding characters to the game purely for shits and giggles, at no extra cost. And custom tracks are really great too. A large community of people making custom tracks for the game theoretically means infinite content and replayability. It's fun to check in on the Steam Workshop page and see what kinds of things people have put on there. Now, a lot of people simply port tracks from other games. There's Mario Kart and CTR maps up the wazoo. And that's fine and everything, you know, but Nintendo are probably going to send the lawyers in though.
Don't go to sleep tonight.
But I think the proper cool stuff is going to be the fully original tracks that people have been making. There's already been some cool ones, and give this game and its community more time to simmer, and I bet there'll be all kinds of really creative and interesting courses to race through. And I think that's the beauty of video game modding, really. People coming together to create funny and brand new things for a game they enjoy, whether that be a goofy crossover character or an elaborate custom stage. There's some stuff I haven't mentioned, so I'll do a quick lightning round. There's the single player challenges, which remind me a lot of Mario Kart DS's missions and give players something to work for with bonus costumes for the base cast. Extra game modes offer cool new angles on the racing, like elimination, increasing the stakes as races are eliminated lap by lap around a track. But I think that just about does it for everything I want to say about this game. Well, I think there's some things you could definitely iron out a little bit more. I think this game's a really neat package. You have a really solid kart racer with great controls, customizable characters, fun items and infinite bonus content for a passionate modding community. And that's all I could ever really ask for in a racing game like this. In a way, this game kind of reminds me of Rivals of Ether. It was a game I bought initially due to the wacky edition of Steam Workshop.
I love SpongeBob, man, but I can't, man. I have a game today, I'm sorry.
That I ended up really enjoying on its own terms. and the game is constantly being improved and tweaked by the devs, with updates arriving weekly to fix bugs or even add entirely new features. And speaking of new features, it's clear that the team behind the game have big plans for it even ahead of now. They speak of plans for more official characters, a mode where you can have 2 characters on a car double dash style, and even an in-game track creator, Mod Nation style, so creating your own original tracks can be easier and more accessible than ever. This game definitely has a lot of potential, and it's been a game that I've been coming back to a lot over the past few months. I absolutely would recommend this one. But that's going to be it from me for now. Take it easy out there folks, and I'll see you next time.